When you rewrite, do you also need to research? Hello and welcome back to my writing journey. I'm Ellen Byerrum, a mystery writer and author of The Crime of Fashion Mysteries. And I also write the Art Deco mysteries featuring Esme de la Ferrere and Graydon Chase. And I'm in the middle of the second rewrite on the second book. Now, I fill them full of mystery, comedy, and romance. I also write plays, short stories, and the occasional children's book. If that sounds good to you and you see this on YouTube, please like and subscribe to my channel. You can also see it on Facebook. Now, I don't offer the usual information on writing, such as 10 easy ways to write your book, because guess what, there aren't. Or 7 things you must include, or 5 ways to write an unforgettable beginning, or even a surefire template for your novel. That's so didactic, so weird, so paint by the numbers. I think we should have fun, if we can, especially when we write. So try and think of it that way, not like there's just a way you can do it. It's not a test, it's not school, it's working. So check out my videos and leave a comment when you can. In my last video, I spoke about going to the beginning of my next draft to rewrite it because I know so much more than I did at the beginning. And I have always said you don't know your book until it's finished. Now I'm going back and forth and layering information into the work. I've even tossed in a new character or 2, and they showed up 3/4 through the book, but I need to layer in some clues that they're coming up, that they're there. They are crucial to the mystery. And then there are moments that catch you unaware when you're rewriting. You might not even be at your computer. You might be picking up a loaf of bread at the grocery store and suddenly think things like, that's why Duncan reacted like this. Or, I wasn't even aware there was 1 secret journal, let alone 2 secret journals. How does one inform the other? Well, you'll have to wait and find out. Trust me, it's all in the mix. It's great. At the same time, I have to research or re-research things that enrich the story or the backstory. I'm not writing in a vacuum. My book is set at Thanksgiving, 1934 in New York City. When I wrote this, I had Graydon's father, who happens to be a high and mighty English lord, show up. Then I found out, at the same day, Thanksgiving, there's a royal wedding in London, just to gum up the works. The headline read, London gay on eve of royal wedding. So why is an English lord not in London and not at the wedding? Actually, he wouldn't necessarily have been invited. Apparently, the wedding venue was quite small. But the wedding was of major interest in the New York papers. I felt I had to address that in the book, if only in a sentence or 2. It was also reported the same day in the New York Times that Babyface Nelson had been killed in a shootout by federal agents. It was a busy turkey day. They had even included a nice chart of the top 10 outlaws that had been gunned down by the FBI. In refreshing my research, I have had to address a few more things, such as Margaret Sanger, the proponent of birth control clinics in New York during the 1920s and early 1930s. Sanger was excoriated by many, including the Catholic Church, but she was a hero in my estimation. It helps to know that her mother had 11 children, 18 pregnancies, and was dead by 50. This is not central to the story, but it adds texture to the issues that women faced when they married or were seduced or worse. The weather might also play a role in your books, because Esme is from the dry, dusty West and wants never to return, and she considers every time it rains a benediction. I decided to look up the dust storms of the 1930s to wonder about their effect on her. She left her western state before the devastating Dust Bowl storms that we associate with Oklahoma and Okies and caravans to California. I was astonished and horrified to find that a huge portion of Colorado was affected in the Dust Bowl. At least 15 counties suffered. How was I never taught this in school? I only heard about Okies and watched the film The Grapes of Wrath. We didn't have that chapter in my history book. So many stories in our history have been sanitized to our detriment, and they're probably being sanitized right now One of my characters is a gangster who has contracted Cupid's disease, syphilis, when there was no apparent cure. And in latter stages, it can cause psychosis or neurosyphilis and death. It is not a good thing for a gangster to have. Fun fact, Al Capone was diagnosed with Cupid's disease in 1938 and released from Alcatraz. My research informed me that while penicillin was discovered in 1928, it wasn't used until the 1940s as a cure. My mother, who had been a nurse in the late 40s and 50s, told me that they had no idea what the dosages should be because penicillin was in its infancy. In her hospital, there was a young man who had a heart infection. He was treated with penicillin and he would improve and then he would worsen, and the doctors just played around with the dose. Ultimately, he died. She was very fond of him, very sad. She'd mentioned that in later years, one massive dose of penicillin could have cured him. So it's amazing how much we know and how much we don't know. In addition to researching story aspects, I spend some time looking out for words that don't fit or don't fit the times. Some expressions might be too modern and take you right out of the story. Other words may have been hiding in the language since the 1500s that sound very modern, and their origins will surprise you. I like to rely on primary sources when I can. Reading the New York Times online day to day during the time frame of my book is one way. It's amazing how much crime and politics weave their way through daily life. The Lindbergh case pops up again and again, and Roosevelt is very busy creating the Works Progress Administration. It's fascinating. There's also news about fascists and a guy named Hitler. To capture the flavor of the day, I love to refer to magazines for clothing styles and manners of speech, such as this wonderful McCall's. So you can look up the fashions of the day, and you can even find out what's on the menu for Thanksgiving dinner. Apparently, turkey was quite expensive, and they recommended recipes for mock turkey, which meant meatloaf, not my favorite. If you are rewriting your book, it may be time to research the finer points to add in a bit of polish. A word of caution, don't lock in your ideas, but also don't fall in love with the research. I know a couple of guys who could not continue their books, one on the Revolutionary War battles, the other on the Civil War. But there was always one more battle location to explore for one man, one more book to read for the other. That is a sure way to stop yourself from moving forward. Rewriting and re-researching is work. You didn't expect anything less, did you? And yes, I have to acknowledge that some people race through their books. The research is shaky and people still read them. Life is funny, and it isn't fair. That's all I have for now. I will see you next time. Good luck with your writing and researching. Bye.